to another episode of the Herd Main Show. I'm your herd leader, John Wayne.
And I'm your herd mom, Megan.
And that's a cat.
It's a cat.
And welcome to another episode of the Herd Main Show. I think I already said that, but it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Welcome.
It's been a week.
It's been a bit. But as true to our nature, the thing that would bring us back is the Mandalorian.
Of course.
A nice guy in a bucket. That's all you need.
Nice.
I mean, he killed some folks. He didn't kill anybody that done nothing wrong, I don't think.
You want to try that one again?
I think it's acceptable, all of the extraterrestrial people that he killed.
I mean, probably.
They seem like bad people.
I mean, he probably did something wrong.
The first fella. Yeah, they did something.
Yeah.
I mean, they were wanted.
They were wanted for something.
There you go. And the Mando is the guy to bring the justice and the blaster bolts. So we are back and we are going to talk about The Mandalorian this episode. Mm-hmm. We were supposed to put out kind of in-betweener last week, but life happened. And so rather than play catch-up, since we've got such a good topic in the first episode of The Mandalorian, why not just sit and talk about that? And that's what we're going to do.
Exactly. And we're going to go ahead and say up top, heavy spoilers for the episode.
Do not listen to this if you have not watched the episode.
Absolutely not.
Or just at your own risk if you haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And so we'll go through the details of the episode and just kind of stop and chat when it gets to something interesting, kind of like we do if you've ever listened to our Clone Wars rewatch or our Rebels rewatch. Mm-hmm. If you don't, you can tune in. I would say Friday, but we don't really have a schedule right now. Basically, and we put it on social media, but basically we're in a time where we're busiest. And so we're going to put out episodes, but we're not going to be able to stick to our usual, normally main show out on Wednesday and rewatch out on Friday and so forth and so on. It's going to kind of just happen when it happens. So just be on the lookout. Episodes will come out.
Yes.
We're going to be doing a lot. We're just doing it when we can because whereas we're not going to do every main show talking about The Mandalorian. This one is just because originally it was going to be on a Wednesday and it's the day after the first episode. Mm-hmm. Luckily, though, we had more time to watch it and just really take in the details. And so by the time this comes out, this might drop the same day as the second episode, in which case we'll talk about that in a video separately over on YouTube. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, normally we also put it over on Apple and Spotify, and we have other shows that also end up on Apple and Spotify and all kinds of other podcast places. Yeah. Our Mando breakdowns, episode to episode, we're not going to do a dedicated podcast to. We're just introducing it through the podcast, and then we'll do it separate in its own kind of show.
Mm-hmm. And if you're also watching this on YouTube, something's changed. I know.
Yeah, you got a haircut.
I got
this week in Herd News.
Haircut.
Logo. There you go. Which you know how the logos would sound like the.
I know. I know what you mean.
There you go.
Yeah, but yeah, I got a haircut.
Hang on. For our audio only listeners, here's what Herd Mom's new haircut sounds like.
There you go. Listen to your hairy friend.
There you go. It looks nice. It looks you.
Yeah.
There you go. It's very fitting.
It's still blue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a good point in terms of the only other real news that we have is that as of when we're recording this, tomorrow Jedi Fallen Order comes out.
Yes.
Technically, we could have gotten it today, Thursday, but we weren't able to make the event at our local GameStop, so there you go. Just another example of how work and life is crazy right now, but nonetheless, we are picking up the game tomorrow, and we will be doing gameplay and streams of Jedi Fallen Order over on Twitch and YouTube.
In more personal news, The Sims 4 University comes out tomorrow, too.
Save that for your Sims podcast.
I will never have a Sims podcast.
Exactly.
No one needs to know what I do in The Sims.
Alien babies, pretty much. That's all I've gathered.
That's a part of it.
What we're going to start doing, we wanted to start doing this because of the busy season and to be able to just get into the topics that are kind of the point of the main shows, that we would kind of be more strategic and smart with the news that we cover. But depending on how it goes, we may just make that a permanent thing, so that these episodes are more about what they should be about, which is the main topic and the bigger part, and that big part can hopefully be more digestible. So the idea is that we save time on just covering every little tidbit of news and just we're able to cover the big stuff and then get right to the topic.
Yeah.
And so as far as big reportable news, there's not really anything other than Jedi Fallen Order coming out, and of course same day episode 2 of the Mando's coming out, which means that we will have an episode 2 breakdown soon after. Vader Immortal is happening next week. I think we talked about that already. If we didn't, episode 3 is coming out next week, which is exciting.
Surprise.
And we've been talking about, we finally were able to get what we needed to be able to film with our Oculus. So leading up, we'll do episode 1 and 2, and then when 3 comes out at some point soon after, we'll knock out episode 3.
Yes.
So that you can see that VR goodness and all of that. We do those things because we're already going to do them. Why not record? That's literally the whole idea of the podcast. We're already going to talk about this stuff. Why not record it?
And I've decorated our VR headset to make it more entertaining.
Exactly. So you'll have to tune in to see about that. But yeah, I mean, if there's certain bits of news that you don't catch because we didn't decide to cover it, don't be offended. We would talk about everything if we could. And at one point we had an episode all about news. But it's all coming down to how we can better do the podcast with our current life situations and everything. The reason we went from 5 episodes a week to 3 episodes a week now to 2 episodes and an occasional is because it's what we're able to do. And as many people do, when they love something, they bite off more than they can chew. They want to just do all of it, and they can't do that. We've come to realize that with the podcast, and so that's where the changes come in. So it's not that we don't want to talk about more. We do, but we have to be smart that if we're going to get anything out, we've got to make sure that we're doing as much as possible to get the main stuff out.
Exactly.
And that's not to say that every main show is going to be what you're begging for, but again, it's really more tied to it's stuff we're already going to talk about and want to talk about. So let's just sit down and record it.
Exactly. And this new schedule, it frees us up to make other things.
I'm scooting my chair. Sorry.
Scoot your chair.
Your arm's hitting my arm. And I need my space.
The one
I need
you
my
marry.
space. I need my
just-
space.
Just...
Yeah, frees us up. What were you saying?
It frees us up to be able to do more things creatively. Like, maybe other podcasts, as well as the one that we already do.
We're pulling back because we're too busy. And with that time, we will dedicate... to
more stuff.
Yeah, we just... We're constantly working on things. I mean, there's no set formula. We're a very small podcast, and we love our listeners.
We do.
But it's just the idea that we are small enough and able enough to be able to move things around. Yeah. Now, of course, we want your input on this, but the idea is that we're able to do what we do best. And so by focusing on the bigger parts of the news is how we feel. So maybe not covering comics unless it's really, really, really big, or maybe not covering, Star Wars Barbies and so forth and so on. They're cool things to talk about, and of course we'll still talk about them.
Yeah.
But we can talk about those things and do life stuff. Whereas we can't always talk about everything in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So all that to say, things are changing, things are weird and busy, but nonetheless, Nerd Herder is here, and we will continue to put out episodes as we're able.
We're here for you. We love you. We're your parents now.
What are you doing out late at this hour, Jim Jam? What are you doing with yourself? Get your life together.
I'm pretty sure Jim has his life together more than we do.
I'm sorry that I only have so many names that I pull from when it comes to talking condescendingly about people.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I said Nancy 10 times this week, just because that's
Nancy?
That's the name of the week.
Yeah.
Nancy.
You still
Karen.
use the word Beth, or the name Beth, even though Elizabeth is my middle name.
I don't normally say Beth.
You've said it a few times.
I don't know. I say Becky a lot.
You do say Becky a lot.
So, sorry, Jim just happens to be one of my names. So don't take it personally, Jim. Unless it's personal, then take it. I don't know. So The Mandalorian.
We love you, Jim. Sorry.
The Mandalorian.
The Mando.
So we've hyped it up. It did not disappoint.
Not at
okay,
all.
so leading in, not that, I mean, it's going to get to spoilers, and not that you would listen to our little crazy show for half of it to get non-spoilers and then listen to the rest to get spoilers, but just off the bat,
Yeah.
initial non-spoiler blurb. Go.
I will say that I was incredibly impressed with The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
That is my journalist take on it, which I'm not a journalist, nor do I care to be one.
You've got a lot of journals, though.
I do have a lot of journals. Like there's a stack right behind me of
Yeah.
journals that have nothing written in them.
Nope. No more journals.
But
Ex-journalist.
I work next to a moleskin fixture. How can you expect me not to?
Ex-journalist Megan Elizabeth. Former journalist Moo.
Stop.
Impressed.
Impressed. I was very impressed with The Mandalorian. It has a very particularly Star Warsy
It's a particular
feel.
set of skills.
It does have a very particular set of skills. One of them being the music is bomb diggity.
Yes, I cannot pronounce this gentleman's name.
No.
I'm not going to try. But he did amazing work on
Put it right
Black Panther. Yeah,
He
editing.
did fantastic on Black Panther.
And I think that was the last project he did before that. But he's got ties with Marvel, which is how he kind of got in for this.
Mm-hmm.
And yet again, much like Rogue One and Solo are great examples of other artists being able to come in and capture, you know, like just pure golden age Star Wars sound.
So wonderful.
He's able to do that while also being fresh. Like
Mm-hmm.
there is techno vibes. There is electric instruments in this.
Yeah.
Like
while also being very tribal.
yeah, it's like so it's a weird amalgamation that still somehow sounds
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars. And you could either say that, well, that means there's not really a Star Wars sound, there's just a good sound in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think if we changed the music, if we tweaked anything,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't feel right. So I do think there's a Star Wars sound, and I think
Yeah.
he managed to find the progressive new
Mm-hmm.
version of it.
Yeah, like I put The Mandalorian's music on level with my favorite, series soundtrack, which is Westworld. I think they both do a fantastic job of capturing the environment that they both live in.
Yeah.
And it really adds to the feel of a scene when you get that fantastic, weird synth music coming in.
Well, yeah, even his main theme has those, like, it. I don't even know what you would call it. It's almost like warbles, like that. Wow, wow, wow.
It's almost like a theremin.
Yeah, it's really, it's different,
Mm-hmm.
but like, and that's in the main theme. That's not just a weird thing that happens during a side part. Like that's
Yeah.
his main theme. And so yeah, I mean, it's
fantastic.
really good stuff. And
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, this is a very high budget, very well
Absolutely.
invested in show, and you can tell.
While also having that great kind of homemade feel that I
okay.
get from the cantina scene.
Okay.
Like,
I'll let you have
that
that one. Sorry.
specifically.
I've heard so many people, not in a negative way, but equate it to like fan filmish.
No,
But
not at all.
I thought that's where you were going with that.
No, I mean, I'm talking like, it gives me Hints
like
and Company
like
vibes.
professional, but like still like
Hints and Company vibes.
yeah, like people get paid a lot of
He
money
made that
to
out of
do
film.
this.
Yeah.
You're right, and I'm pretty sure there's a sock in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like,
And with that comes amazing practical effects as well as digital effects.
yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, but I was blown away. In
Yes.
terms of, I expected things
Very
to look
well done.
good, but really, wow. Like, there's a few key
Mm-hmm.
parts. I mean, there's a couple of moments where it's a little bit more CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and that's not surprising because they used, I can't remember the name of the, it's something Real Engine, but they, like, used the
Unreal Engine.
Unreal Engine?
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
The
it's
same
video
thing they
game
used
tech.
for yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
Force Unleashed.
like new, much newer, but like
Wait a minute. The same thing that they used for Days Gone.
probably like basically
It
a
was
lot
still
of
Sam Witwer. Okay.
right there you go. Sam Witwer is the key, folks. I'm pretty sure he's going to find a way in
How
the
many
Mandalorian.
levels of bacon is Sam Witwer?
20.
Like,
But like any very polished new
Mm-hmm.
game that's come out recently uses Unreal Engine. And they turned that
Fantastic.
into using it for digital effects, which makes sense, and also still being innovative and cheap. But like, there's a few moments where it definitely feels like that video game CGI. Still not a criticism because it works. And there's it. I don't know what it is about it. I couldn't forgive this in a major Star Wars. Like, I couldn't forgive some of this in Episode 9 in terms of graphics and in detail, because that's so much bigger. And clearly they've shown in 7 and 8, it's there's no real room for error.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably nitpick, but I haven't found anything in the newer films based on just how much technology's advanced and just based on how much more attention to detail there is in practical effects. Because, okay, let's be honest. Drippy McCool has, like, you see where they ripped some of it off when they were getting it out of the cast. You see, like, globs of paint on Bib Fortuna. Like, let's be honest, it's
Drippy McCool.
they just did it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's what makes the cantina scene in A New Hope so special.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And,
but,
I
mean, two different levels, but, like, some of the things that happened here couldn't happen in 9 for me, but because they happen in something that feels so original trilogy, it feels like it should be that way. Like, obviously they didn't, like, can we make it a little bit more, like, a little less polygons, please? No, like, but I do think it just because even a couple of the practical effects, like, some of it doesn't match up with the words. Yeah. That's fine, because that's very original trilogy.
But I'll say, like, I think we're talking about the same practical effect here. It
the
was
Ugnaught?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was something that blew me away when I first watched the original, not the original, the Phantom Menace special effects feature. Like, there's something about an animatronic that's under latex skin. I am completely wowed by that every time I see it. I don't know what it is. I think it's like, it's new puppeteering, I guess. Like, I love it when I can see, like, I can see the person, or I can imagine the person behind the scenes moving the remote to make the face move, and it's the same thing that they used for Hoggle in Labyrinth. It's the same technology.
Oh yeah,
like,
much better, but yes.
Oh yes,
exactly.
So much better. But, like, you know what I mean. It's something that's always, been exciting and something cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I think that's why I'm a little more
forgiving
about it.
Well, no, and I mean, it's just one of those things where it's just like, because of the bar that current major Star Wars films have set up, I don't think they would allow these sorts of things.
Definitely not.
So it would feel out of place. Whereas for some reason this feels like knowing that's not quite it, but it works. And it doesn't bother me necessarily, but I do notice it.
Yeah, and at the same time, I was watching, the face movements of the Ugnaught and watching, the different practical effects and being like, I'm so glad this was practical.
Oh yeah,
it would not have the same feel.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of points where they get it right.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I'm sure it comes down to how they did it, and we can talk about it when we talk more about the episode and get to the character.
Yeah,
but
which we will.
And I think we got way more in terms of. I guess it's to say there's not a lot that we can say about the episode other than it being cool without spoiling it. So let's talk about the cool music and the cool effects.
And surprising.
Absolutely. So there is your spoiler free. So hopefully you've had time to, in that moment, watch the show. If not, you're doomed.
I can talk about Henson Company puppeteering and animatronics for the next 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm all there with you on special effects. Not the Henson Company stuff. I'm talking more like Stan Winston, but they were friends, but like clearly on different levels.
Yes.
One's for kindergartners, one is for teens, clearly.
Hold up.
I mean,
can you honestly say that you would show the Dark Crystal to one of our kindergartners?
Yes. I watched it in kindergarten.
Well, different times.
I watched Predator at 7. What's wrong?
So, there's a specific scene in the Dark Crystal that scarred me for life. It's when
there's scenes in multiple children's movies that scarred people.
Apparently, Ryan got scarred for the fire gang from Labyrinth, and he's an adult.
Well, there's people, the freaking wheelies from Wheelers.
The Wheelers.
Wheeler, I think it's the wheel. Yeah, from Return to Oz.
Return to Oz, which is on Disney Plus.
Which is Frizzabulk.
It is Frizzabulk, isn't it?
Which was surprising. Yeah, well, and then in that same one, there's the lady that takes her head off and everything. Like, there's a bunch of creepy things. But I loved it. So there you go. Two different childhoods, clearly.
Very different childhoods. My parents.
So
I'm not gonna make that joke.
Episode 1 starts off with what would be familiar scenes to some if you've scoured the internet for some of the footage they've shown before in terms of what better way to introduce a bounty hunter than by following him on his first hunt.
Yes.
I don't want to linger on it terribly much because it's a fun intro for a few reasons, I guess I'll say.
Kills a dude with a door.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Like, and that really quickly sets up, like, okay, not only is he not a guy to be messed with, so there's the character of it, but then the show, I mean, he gets cut in half. Like, now they're not, like,
you
hear
the squelch, and you see his legs.
They're not showing anything graphic, but they are showing, like, that's a little bit more than maybe Star Wars has done before. And so it's a really cool setup, of course, and it's also really funny.
It is very funny.
The fish guy.
You take my credits.
Right. So, no, we don't have much more than our notes in front of us, so there's probably a name for him. There's probably a species. We'll get nerdy.
His name's Craig, because he looks like a Craig.
Right.
Not a Craig, a Craig.
We'll get nerdy about it at some point else, but the fish guy...
Yeah.
Very, very funny. I really appreciated the humor. I love when, because so he's there for him, and he saves him from the other guys only because he's there for him.
Yes.
He being the Mandalorian.
He's a very bad liar.
And so he puts what they've introduced is a puck, so that's what has all the data of a bounty. So he puts that down, and it's his image, and he's like, is that me? Oh, okay. Well, it's just...
There is no doubt in my mind that he is completely bullcrapping at that moment.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he knows he's wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what's so funny about it is he tries.
Yeah.
I love his little trying to distract while he's clearly trying to find a way to escape once the Mando has him on his ship.
Also, first of Star Wars, first time we've seen a bathroom in Star Wars.
Yeah, apparently. A vac tube.
Oh, a vac tube.
Yeah. Which interesting.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's like, what's it, Psycho? The first time they show a flushing toilet?
Exactly.
Like, you don't think about these things, but it's like, oh, there you go.
I Love Lucy, the first time you ever hear the word pregnant on television.
There you go. But all of it was really funny, and it's a really good balance to a very serious character. He doesn't talk much, and when he does talk, it's obviously very intimidating and such, and when he carbon freezes the guy, there's a really good moment where it's like, he's not there, then he's there. It's really, there's a lot of stuff here that I feel like a lot of kids like me grew up, like, this is how we told stories of Boba Fett before we read the books. Like, he's just that bad, strong, silent type. He just does everything, like, so, and this is where I get people equating it to fan films in terms of, that's what you love. That's the kind of stuff that I would immediately go back and do with my action figures as a child. Like, the things that reinforce, this is the cool guy.
But something that I absolutely adore about the show that happens a few times in the show is that they let him get hit.
Oh yeah,
they let him fail.
Really the whole episode he has a bad day.
Exactly. Like, I love that about the show.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say close calls in the sense that he could have died, obviously, but
he just straight up gets wrecked a couple times.
Yeah, it's just a few moments where it doesn't work, clearly. And I think that's okay. That's really cool. And that's its own subtle story point that I think is going to continue to come back in terms of he's not untouchable. Yeah. But he is still our hero. He's who we're rooting for. So, but it's really nice to add those stakes in terms of he might get hurt, Obviously they're not going to kill him because the show's named after him. So, and one thing with that whole part, that whole intro is as they're escaping, some of the best CGI in the show is when this creature bursts through the ice and attacks the ship.
It's an alligator hippo.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
It looks fantastic.
Not the creature, the effects.
Yeah.
The creature too, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting that amazing of graphics in episode 1, but I mean, very clearly I think they wanted to do their, okay, they've seen the good practical effects. They, the Quarren and the fish guy.
Yeah.
Now let's give him some good CGI effects. Okay, cool. And not only that, but let's show him some really cool camera work.
Yes.
Because the shot tracking the Mando as he leaves the cockpit to get his gun to then go deal with the beast holding them back, that camera angle, like where you feel like you're going through the ship with him, really cool, really dynamic.
And that's how you show a layout of a ship. That's how you show the layout of a scene.
Right.
Even.
Well, and then similarly, like when we follow the fish guy as he's going down to the lower, like a lot of it goes to like, we're exploring the ship without exploring the ship essentially because of choosing to be a little different with your camera angles.
Yeah, I mean, like it reminds me of, I watched the documentary of the making of The Shining, and they showed the mapping out of the scene where Danny is riding his big wheel around the hotel.
Oh yeah.
And that is, you can very clearly see, okay, he's going from the lobby to the hallway to...
Well, and that's the scene that people use for all of that. So just because...
It's innovative.
Yeah. And so, again, like just a lot of really good effects right up front when you're, still in the intro, clearly.
Yeah. Good use of Huttese as well.
Oh yeah, they do have lots of Huttese. So once he gets that, the Mando returns. Apparently that was his last bounty that Grief had given him. So he returns to collect. What's really funny, I didn't notice it until the second time we watched it. So he offers him Imperial credits for the bounties, and he's like, I don't want Imperial money. It's like, okay, well, then, he's like, oh, I can pay in, I think he just says calamari something, but I can only pay half.
Yeah.
And I didn't catch that before where he cut a calamari, a Mon Calamari in half. Yes. Well, a Quarren from Mon Calamari.
From Mon Calamari. It's fine.
It's funnier in my head, but it was just funny.
And it kind of sets up an interesting economic
right, like,
kind of
well, because everything
happening.
was controlled by the Empire, so now you kind of just get, because who's in charge yet?
Also,
8 years in, the New Republic is there, but I'm sure they're still trying to figure it. Like, how do we print money? I mean, we've been flying ships and fighting war for so long. Do you know how to be a doctor, Jim? Do you know how to, like? I feel like there's a lot of that because the Empire did everything. For 20-something years, the Empire did everything. So it's like, it's really weird.
I want to make Imperial credits because they're such a pretty shade of blue, and they're the little.
No, that's the calamaris.
Oh, it was? Oh, well then.
They look like fish eggs.
I like that. I want it.
I think they look like fish eggs. I'm not saying they are meant to look like, but if they are, that's cool.
Can you imagine if a bunch of us resin people made a lot of those and just started trading them at Celebration and stuff like that?
That'd be fun. Or that you could make a bunch of those for the Celebration annual game of Sabacc or something. That'd be funny.
That would be great.
Gotta go back and mention that the fish guy, when just kind of making conversation along the ship, he mentions Life Day.
Yes.
I put a big exclamation point by that, so that's funny.
Life Day.
Which
canon.
I mean, the holiday special details of it are still canon, so that's not surprising.
And Jon Favreau wants to make another holiday special.
I would let him.
I would let him. As well,
I trust John. I trust the Almighty John and his son Dave Filoni. The holy
and their dad George Lucas.
Right, the holy trinity of Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's not discounting all the other wonderful people like Gareth Edwards, J.J. Abrams, Kathleen Kennedy. It's just a joke. It's the internet, so I have to put that out there. We love all of our Star Wars people.
Let's make it the quadrilogy and just add Sam Witwer in there.
Dang it, I can't come up with something because every name I have is an actual person. I don't want to offend.
People that we like.
Right, dang it. We like too many people. So basically there's that exchange of, hey, here, good job, here's some money. The Mando needs more money, wants more jobs, and Dusty's.
Sorry.
And so Grief offers him one, but there's like not a lot of information. You got to go face to face to meet. And these are those things, those are the story beats we've already had set up. So there's enough still here in the beginning. It's very familiar. Goes about, I guess, the way you would say, you would think it would.
Yeah.
Bounty hunter gets a bounty, comes back, oh, that's not enough money. And it's like, oh, I got one, but it's off the record. And it's like, I'll take it. And it's just, everybody talks like a gumshoe in my version of The Mandalorian.
Hey, Johnny, play the one about going down the stairs.
So he goes to meet, and, lo and behold, it's, again, something
Werner
familiar.
Herzog.
It's Werner Herzog and his stormtroopers. Not going to talk about this much, because, again...
Yeah.
Werner Herzog in Star Wars. I'm not as into it as a lot of people are. Not like I don't like it, but like I'm also not overhyping Werner Herzog. I don't know. Like I didn't know who he was until much like he didn't know who Jon Favreau was. He didn't see a Star Wars film before this, which I'm not saying you have to be in Star Wars, but I didn't know who he was.
Neither did
I
Mark
still
Hamill.
don't know who he is. I like the way he talks, though. He could read me. I literally wrote, where is it? Herzog should read bedtime stories.
And clone symbol.
Oh, yeah. So somebody pointed out that the doctor guy that comes in...
Dr. Diaz. I don't remember his name.
It's like Pershnings or something. It's something like off of BBC.
Yeah.
Dr. Pershnings, my pancreas.
McClure pancreas.
He's got a symbol on his jacket, and people have pointed out it's very, very coincidentally similar to a Camino cloning symbol. Like, it's a symbol at, like, the Camino cloning facility. Dave Filoni involved, like, I don't know. And when we talk about that ending...
He does like clones.
I mean, so basically he takes the job, and Herzog offers him Mandalorian steel.
Yes, Beskar.
And what's really cool is what this jump starts with all of this, because
what it leads to is very interesting in the long run of the show.
Yeah. And so we just kind of casually follow the Mando around after he takes the job, and then he kind of sneaks off underground. And this was probably, other than the ending, the biggest blowaway for me, because number one, they just really casually introduce a whole bunch of other Mandalorians.
Yeah, he just walks into a room, including children Mandalorians.
Now, I could have sworn in a very blurry image of a scene from Celebration I had seen, oh, he's going to meet more Mandalorians. I figured maybe we're going to go, like, why call it the Mandalorian if you're not going to explore that lore? Why not just call it the Bounty Hunter? Mandalorian? Yeah. It, like, clearly that's going to happen eventually. Recently, there was a figure leaked through Amazon that's of
the heavy
Mando who looks chunk. It was going to happen. But in episode 1, and then again, it was just so casual.
So casual.
Like, he just walks by, at first he just walks by one, and then you see another, and then you see, like, a whole tribe, and we learned that it is a full tribe. Like, that was just such a good way to do it. Like, 'cause
exactly, and they didn't make a big deal out of it.
No, it's like, you just have to follow along, because it's one of those, there's nothing happening that you have to assume. Like, it's more of a, we're not going to stop and talk about this, just go with it kind of things. Which
reminds me a lot of Jon Favreau's films. Just like, he doesn't make a huge deal out of a lot of stuff. Right. He just sort of, have this.
And much like in my experience, that's what makes it so much more of a big deal, I think. I would have freaked out if they had done some big epic intro, but at the same time, them just, oh, there's more Mandos. What the heck? Because there was no lead up. There was no cool scene preparation. It was just, it happened.
He just walks through a door and there's a Mando.
And I think that's very metaphorical of how the Mandalorians are getting along in the universe right now. They're not the big deal. Yeah. Like, there's a couple of moments here where they're like, oh, I've only heard the stories, and is this story true? And it's like these things, and it's just like,
yes,
they're not the big guys anymore.
There's a very particular one that we'll talk to when we get to the character that I absolutely loved in that scene.
But yeah, I think it's very indicative of how they're being treated in the universe. Like, they're not the big deal anymore. They're just guys in buckets.
Mandalore has basically fallen to pieces.
Yeah, I mean,
like, the tribes have shattered, basically, as far as we know. We still don't know what happened at the Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah.
We don't know how much...
It was sieged.
We don't know
by
how...
Casey Ryback.
Maul.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. He had a hand in that.
Yeah, and so hopefully this is going to reveal some things, but not obviously not everything, but some things.
So we've talked about how much you want to, or how much others have wanted to see, you know, a mention of Boba Fett, a mention of Jango Fett, or any of our favorite Mandos. I just want to hear the name Maul once. Like, or just referred to as that thing that took over Mandalore for a little bit. Right, the one. Like, I just... I
think this is a great moment for a lot of those lore things.
I'd love to see
to link up,
like the Maul Mando armor again, because that was so cool.
I think that'd be a little sacrilegious, though.
It was still so cool.
Oh yeah. Well, so when he goes in, he takes the bit of metal that he got and goes to a forger, and we do get a little bit. It was interesting. She's got the what Dave Filoni I think called like the night owl. It's the female helmet.
Yeah, it's very gladiator-like.
Yeah, it's got horns on it, but definitely not
Maul horns.
Yeah, it's not like that. But again, that's one of those things where it's like we could stop and talk about it, but we don't. The show just goes on like she's the armorer, she's making him armor. But a couple of significant things happen here. So first, it's like. Well, as she's going to, like, I'm going to make you a pauldron. I'm going to make you a shoulder piece. Yeah. And much like with Boba's, on one side, he has the Mando skull.
Yes.
And
the Bantha
so I think the idea,
right
was, what's your signet? I'll put it on there for you. I'll stamp it. And so she's like, has it been revealed?
Yes. Very interesting.
It's like, not yet. And she's like, soon or something like that. It's just like what?
Yeah,
but
there's
then
a ton of symbolism in this episode.
Right. But then what I get from it is the answer to why it's not been revealed yet. Because as she's forging, he has some flashbacks. And I kind of was on this boat when we saw the last trailer where we saw some Clone Wars era stuff. You know, just with it being so far after, I figured, well, maybe it's more of a flashback than what's happening there.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it is. It's his flashback.
We also get a little bit in the beginning of the episode that I forgot completely about until you just said flashback. He has a very interesting line when, you know, he's calling a ride, and the first one that comes... I can't remember the species of the alien, but it's the same one that's the spy on Tatooine. Kubaz. He calls a ride with his little flute.
Right, yeah.
I love that.
It's efficient.
I love that you can just call rides with a flute. In the first one that
how will I know when you call, Jim? You'll know.
Toot, toot, toot. The first one that comes has a droid on the front and has a astromech piloting it. And he has the line of, no droids.
Yeah. So we get a precursor.
Yes.
Now, what's interesting is I think we're going to continue to learn more about that flashback because in this particular one, I checked when we rewatched, we don't see the droids. We just see something happens. But, you know, you put one and one together. Clearly, we know we're eventually going to see droids. But that leads me to believe maybe we won't get just that clip, but maybe we'll see a full scene.
And the Mando was a cute kid.
Yes.
Such a cute baby.
So, and that's the thing is, as she's forging, it's like, oh, there's extra. That'll go towards the foundlings. And at first I was just like, foundlings, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, my brain the first time heard like foundries. So I thought, oh, they're going to make more armor. And well, they are, but for foundlings.
Which
I don't know what
such a great setup.
I don't know what in the Star Wars universe compels people to put lings on little creatures.
Foundlings has been a term for a long time.
I ain't heard it.
I've read many book that says foundlings.
I've read many book.
I work at a book.
I've read a mini book.
Here it is.
It's the world's tiniest book.
It just has one letter.
Well, I mean, it's much like younglings, you know, and hatchlings and all this other stuff. It's just like, okay, that's how we know it's a child.
And before you grow into a Greg, you're a Gregling.
So, but I guess it's much better than just saying orphan, but that's essentially what it is. And so, okay.
Also, in the
Have your
beginning,
moment.
the blue alien is apparently a fledgling, which means
I don't know.
a very young.
He said he's molting. I
He's
don't know.
Is that what their young look like?
I don't
He
know.
looks
I
like
don't
a
know what
full-grown
species he
dude.
is.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, as we learn later, species age differently.
Exactly.
So
50 years. That was such a freaking.
that was a good one.
That was a good one. It got me.
And that's okay. So, and we didn't mention that. That's
Yeah.
the one detail they can provide the Mandalorian
Yeah.
is the age of his bounty, and it's 50 years old. So that right there was a really interesting one because I was like, oh, okay, so it's not the kid. So,
Which my mind immediately went to the other guy.
oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
But he's older than 50.
Probably.
How could that have, that could
Yeah,
have been.
yeah, exactly. It's a good. Okay, now we don't really know what he's looking for, but yeah, and so what's really interesting about this as just a lore bit, and then we'll kind of move on, so it's not horribly long of an episode.
Oh, it's gonna be a long episode.
This is a very Legends element. Okay,
Very much so.
nothing confirmed. He very well could be fully Mandalorian, and the planet attacked could have been Mandalore, and all this other stuff. But what I would like to believe is that elements of Legends are coming back in terms of Jango Fett's story.
Yeah.
Jango Fett, while within Mandalorian territory, was not a Mandalorian. He was orphaned by Death Watch, who were Mandalorians, who were being fought by the Protectors, who were Mandalorian. One of those Mandalorians, Jaster Muriel, adopted Jango after his parents were killed. And so then Jango became a Mandalorian. Then you fast forward, the Mando Wars, the Jedi Wars, all this other stuff pretty much put the Mandalorians in extinct. Which is why when we find Jango much, much later on, he's more on his own because there's not many left after the war.
Yeah, and at that point, there is a reformation of the Mandalorian culture.
Well, not in Legends, no.
No?
No, it's literally just that there's not much of them.
Oh.
In canon, though, that's the thing, that those elements could still work. That's why it could work. Is it's like instead of going extinct, it's just they got so few that they were like, hey, yo, we got to stop killing people, and reformed. And he's like, well, no, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to stay a bounty hunter.
And that's what made him not a Mandalorian.
Exactly. Again, so that like headcanon, that can work. So, but anyway, what it's not canon in Legends. He's adopted. So in Legends, they're not wrong. He wasn't really a Mandalorian. He was Mandalorian by practice and not by heritage.
Yes.
The Mandalorian of our show being a foundling, being an orphan.
That was possibly orphaned by the Clone Wars.
Right. More than likely, the Mandalorians took him in. He might not be a Mandalorian by birthright, which would explain why he doesn't have a signet. It's not that it hasn't been revealed in terms of like they're trying to recover history. He just may not have one. So this could reintroduce the idea that Jango's origin could work.
And also...
Because we don't have a canon origin for him.
It could also reintroduce the concept of a Mandalore.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
As
that's
a
kind of
tribe
there.
leader.
That's kind of there.
Yeah.
You haven't gotten there in canon. It's there in canon, though. But, like, it could...
I just did the blonde guy blinking
Right.
in real life.
I mean, it could be, depending on how deep we go. My biggest... the biggest exciting thing I get from it is... I'm not hurt that this is very similar to Legends Jango.
Not at all.
If it's as similar as I hope it is, that means that Legends Jango story works even more for me. In my headcanon, it's still there. Disney didn't take that away from me because they haven't replaced it with anything either.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly fine with it existing as Legends, but it all works together and it all kind of makes sense that maybe this whole tribe, maybe these other kids aren't Mandalorian. Maybe this is the first mixed tribe. Maybe they discover that none of them are Mandalorian, and the point of the story isn't to be Mandalorian by birthright. It doesn't matter who your daddy was. It doesn't matter your family name. What matters is who you choose to be. Is that's not a Star Wars theme. I don't know what is.
Yeah.
And instead of coming from Jedi and this one family that loves to ruin the galaxy, it comes from a Mandalorian. It comes from a regular guy. I think that, like, that's just so Star Wars. it's gotta happen.
Exactly.
But I'm not gonna be butthurt if it doesn't. I mean, I really like the idea of it.
We've applied the butthurt cream. It's not going to get us.
Exactly. So I look forward to learning more, for sure. More about this tribe, more about the Mandalorian. I think there's plenty of room for that. So once he gets his new pauldron, he's off to it.
Yeah.
What's up?
I just love looking at your notes. And
just
blurred.
Yeah, there's a lot of exclamation and just a lot of just like one word summation of what's happening. Like I've got Clone Wars baby for his flashbacks. Above that
He is the
boy. And then and you can clearly see where I write things before
tribe?
They answer it like tribe, foundling, signet, what?
And also things that you don't know the term for or just couldn't remember in that moment.
Okay.
Like Hobbit effects.
Okay.
As in forced perspective.
Sure.
Yeah.
Forced perspective. Yes. So
yes.
that segue to when very quickly when he arrives, he's attacked by a blurg, which is really cool to see on screen.
It was really neat.
It's a really good blend of digital and practical.
Yes. And you can really see the point where it becomes practical.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing.
And in that moment, the Mando is saved by Kuiil.
Kuiil.
Or I think that's how you pronounce it. Kuiil?
Kuiil?
They didn't say his name
Quail?
in here. But I'm pretty sure he's going to come back.
Oh, absolutely. He's the Ugnaught that we're talking about.
So he gets introduced, and he ends up helping our Mando find his quarry.
Yeah.
And that's who we were talking about in terms of some of the effects are very traditional, so they're also very imperfect.
It's the same effect that they used for oh my gosh, what is his name?
The guy you said earlier from Labyrinth?
No, the people from the Trade Federation.
Newt Gunray?
Newt Gunray. It's the same technology that they use to make his face move.
You wear a motorized mask, essentially.
Which also has a strap under your chin so that you can move your mouth slightly. And your
you do
upper
the up
lip,
and down.
as well as your eyebrows, are motorized.
Right.
It's like wearing a very sophisticated motorized mask.
Yeah. And clearly that... And because I'm pretty sure there's a body actor.
Yes,
there is. I think Nick Nolte is just voice for this.
Yes, there seems to be a not really little person, but a shorter actor certainly, and also
not.
Or not.
I mean, Elijah Wood was a normal person.
Yes, but they also had body doubles for that as well.
No, but still, but like children though.
No.
Oh, people?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Little people.
They make them that short? Sorry.
Sir, can I please interest you in a foot in the mouth?
Okay.
Okay, but yeah. They utilize stuff like forced perspective for The Hobbit, which
you can see where like the way they shoot the scene, like clearly they're shooting Kuiil separate of the Mando. And
here's the thing. It made me so happy to see that again. Because The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings are some of my favorite pieces of film ever. Peter Jackson is a genius. You cannot change my mind. But seeing stuff like the animatronics inside the mask, seeing the forced perspective utilized.
Very familiar.
It's very familiar. And it's kind of like nostalgic in a way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so Kuiil's just that character that kind of helps the Mando along, gives him a bit of a life lesson in terms of slow down, take it easy, because to get where they're going, they need the blurg, and he's not really wanting to learn how to ride the blurg.
Yeah.
And so it's very westerny in terms of you got to learn to tame the beast, and you got to get your steed, and it's a fast little thing, which is again why I believe he's definitely probably gonna come back.
Absolutely.
And so, but he shows him where to go, and it's there's a lot in this episode I didn't expect to get to. We've mentioned Mandalorians, we mentioned Kuiil, and then sure enough,
Life Day.
Oh well, no, I mean in terms of it was going to happen, but I assumed much later. So while Mando's prepping to go get his bounty, someone else comes in, and it's IG-11.
Yes.
And it's just like, okay, let's throw another guy in there.
Yeah.
It's just like, not that it's just another one of those, like, I don't have time to breathe. Like, I thought that was going to come later, but okay, cool. Moved up the appointment.
Yeah. The only thing we didn't get is Cara Dune.
Oh, yeah.
And that's fine.
Oh, yeah. They've got to save some things, clearly.
Exactly.
And so he really quickly
Yes.
just proves that all the hype was worth it. And I don't care what everybody else's hype was. We had hype.
We were so hyped about IG-11, and he delivered.
And I love that they did keep what has been established in other areas in terms of just because they're sentient in some way does not mean that they're more human in their characteristics.
Yes, they are not emotive,
right?
But they have personality.
Yeah, he's still very much machine in the way he walks, in the way he talks. I appreciate that they kept those elements because as much as I would have liked to have IG-11 telling ghosts to piss off, at the same time, it would have really been weird.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been too much.
Exactly. And I think Star Wars does a fantastic job of personifying their droids.
Yes, because he's still amazing.
Exactly. And we got a little gonk droid early in the episode that I forgot to mention.
There's a lot of elements where, again, they're capturing that very traditional feel.
Yes.
Through the effects and whatnot.
I think that was one of those things where you watched me watch the episode, basically. And that's one of those things where I don't think you were expecting me to get excited, but I did.
No, I expected it.
Gonk droids!
Yeah, we love droids.
Droids.
I think that's established. So when he comes, he again very droidishly. It's like he's basically saying, "Hey, I'm a bounty hunter. I'm here for the bounty. Present the bounty." And what's fun, like very quickly, they're just like, "Oh, let's just shoot the droid," and then just starts popping off. He gets some guys, and this is one of those moments, like you mentioned earlier, where the Mando tries to come in because, of course, now he's like, "Wait, no, this is mine." So he goes in to try and sort things out. And he instantly gets shot by IG-11.
Yes.
Luckily, he has that Beskar pauldron because otherwise would have been bad. Yeah. And it's a really good hit. It's so good. He goes down.
Like, you feel the impact.
And I love he doesn't emote much himself. It's very much low, just as much as needed. And that's another one of those moments. It's just like, I'm in the guild. Yeah. Like, because at the same time, he's got some things with droids.
Yes.
So, like, I'm sure he already just wants to kill the thing. But I think he's smart enough to look like, we're going to need help, so let's work this out together.
Yes. And Iggy does most of the work, to be honest.
Right. Well, now, and here's the thing, though. Grief set this up in terms of this isn't out there. This is, like, no one else.
This is a speakeasy spooky job.
Right. So who sent Iggy?
Exactly.
We call IG-11 Iggy, by the way.
We call most IG units Iggy.
So, and then we'll get to another part later where, again, it's like, who really sent him?
Yeah.
So, but I love the exchange when it's just like, he's trying to convince Iggy to work with him. And he's like, how about we split it? And he's like, this is acceptable. And then he starts to walk over, and then he's like, of course, I get the essentially bragging rights.
Yeah.
And he
gets the street cred.
Yeah, he's like, just come on, get over here. And he's just like, there's a good pause.
Yeah.
I must have an answer before I proceed. And it's just like,
in the middle of a battle.
Right. Well, yeah, and then they start shooting and everything. And it goes ham.
It really does.
It's a really big shootout. Yeah.
And they are very obviously outnumbered, outgunned, like...
Yes, and I meant to have another watch where I specifically go and get numbers, but like you already said, Iggy did most of the work.
Yeah. There is no kill count.
Because he's coordinated enough to be able to walk and shoot versus Mando, who's really, like, he's going from spot to spot and shooting where he can. So,
yeah, he doesn't have sensors.
Yeah, and so and this is an example of how IG-88 could have been a viable example as a bounty hunter. He's more efficient. But
in canon, I think at this point, he is dismantled.
I don't think so.
Maybe.
I mean, we see IG-88 talking to Bazine Natel.
Very true.
Who is a Force Awakens character.
Very true.
He could have made it at least 30 more years, so who knows. And then there's another... So once they get to some cover and the Mando's like, oh no, it's not going to work, the best reoccurring joke starts and Iggy's like, okay, initiating self-destruct sequence, and it's just like,
What?
What? No, calm down.
The fact that he has a thermal detonator in his chest.
Right. He's just ready to go. And then it's just like, okay, stop. And it stops. And then there's another moment where it's just like, we got a plan. We're going to do this. And it doesn't work. And it's, okay, I'll self-destruct now. And it's...
This is a physical representation of what it is like to have anxiety.
Exactly. It's just like, okay, I'm going to explode.
You're the Mando. I'm Iggy.
And it just keeps coming up. And it's just hilarious.
Yeah.
Because,
it's very funny.
again, they're using elements of the droid characteristics to be funny.
It's not emoting, but it is personality.
Right. And so eventually the Mando's able to get a hold of a big gun and shoot everybody.
Yes, in a fantastic scene.
Right. And what's funny is that whole time that he's doing that, the self-destruct thing's been going. And he's like, okay, I'll turn it off now. And it's just...
Yeah.
It's so funny. I really loved that whole exchange.
Yeah, there's another great visual joke where they are in front of the big door.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, now we have to get it open. And then
they just kind of pan to the big gun. And this whole exchange, Iggy, Mando, I need all of their adventures.
Yes.
Because this was some of the best of the whole episode.
Some of
this
the best
little
dialogue.
buddy bounty going on.
Yeah. And then we get the drop of the century.
Yeah, so then they get in there, and as mentioned, they're going after a prey that's 50 years old. But
they come upon a bassinet.
And inside is a mogwai. It's a bald mogwai. No.
You get that great scene of you just see the ears, and then the little hand comes
yeah,
up
it's enough
to
that
get
you're
the
just
blanket. Wait, what?
Right. It wow. I'm calling him Yogurt, by the way.
He is Yogurt.
He is my baby. He is Yogurt.
I need one.
He's bacteria free. He's Greek too. I could go on and on.
Please don't.
He's adorable. It's a little
so
baby
cute.
Yoda. And I mean, again, I'm calling him Yogurt because I don't know what to call him.
We don't know the name of Yoda's.
Which is why this is mind blowing.
Yeah, like the fact that there's more out there.
Supposedly. So going back to Dr. Pershing's or whatever the BBC guy's name was, this is where the cloning thing kind of worked for me because I'm like, that seems to wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like it's like an army of little Yodas would be dope.
It would be dope.
The Empire would be
dangerous.
Right, the Empire would be back. And then someone else pointed out, like, haven't the other only two of this species we've seen been super force sensitive? Mm-hmm. So the odds of this being a force baby are really high.
Yeah.
Which means that this is going to be a nightmare to babysit.
Right?
Which is going to be hilarious.
It's going to be like Jack Attack.
Exact. Oh, if it's not, I'm going to be disappointed.
Right.
Like, this better not be just a calm day. Like, no, I need Baby's Day Out levels of just ham.
And to create even more questions, Iggy's like, okay, now we terminate it, right?
Exactly. Like, what he's like, the instructions were very clear. Mm-hmm. So I'm feeling like somebody else is after this. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm wondering if this is where Esposito's Imperial character comes in.
Which is definitely a possibility.
What if they got the same information. Maybe they were even working together. And one was like, that's a threat to the Empire, let's kill it. And then Herzog's more like, no, we need it for science, but we can still study it if it's dead.
We need it for science.
And that's the thing. That's why they would be okay with having it dead. If they're working to clone it, they can still do that from dead tissue.
Yeah.
As long as it's not too dead. So maybe there's a fork in the road where the two characters disagree. Then Herzog finds Mando, and Esposito finds Iggy. Like,
that makes sense.
It would be interesting, and that's the only thing I think in terms of, because clearly, what would be the motivation in killing it? It's a threat to what's left of the Empire. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So, like, that's where my brain went in terms of who hired, because really the first time I'm just like, oh, okay, so somebody else got the job. But the second time I'm just like, wait a minute, that's very different instructions.
Incredibly so.
And so it's like, now, because here's the thing, death was acceptable, not mandatory. Iggy was just like, no, it said to kill it. It said to, which was funny, terminate, which is, which is, he's the IG assassin droids are the T800s of Star Wars. So
You almost said T-1000.
I did.
And then
Same thing. I mean,
Arnold
murder
Schwarzenegger
bots.
would have come out of nowhere and slapped you across the face if you had
If
said that.
insulting Terminator is what I have to do to make Arnold Schwarzenegger show up, like, that would have happened already.
Linda Hamilton sucks.
Oh, that's a lie.
It is a super lie, but I want to meet her.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be her.
She was in Children of the Corn. I remembered that the other day. So...
I want to be Linda
And then,
Hamilton.
and so it just... man, when Iggy's just like, it said to kill it, Mando sticks up and is just like, nope, and shoots Iggy.
Yeah, which we don't see at first.
Yeah, it's a very well done thing.
Mm-hmm. You just see the flash of the blaster against the Mando's helmet.
Right. IGs are proven, IG-88 himself, are proven to be nearly immortal by, like, transferring intelligence to multiple bodies. Not quite Legends level. In canon, he does it more literally. There's not multiples at the same time.
But what if?
Maybe.
But what if, John?
I mean, technically, yes, they're different, but it's more of a, like, the IG-88 is the personality, not the droid.
Yes.
And I feel like if they're similar enough, which nearly identical, then it could be the same sort of download feature.
Yeah.
Because I really feel like they would have overhyped him if he's dead in the first episode.
Yeah. Also, something I found out the other day. The Legends story that I love so much, the Tales from the Bounty Hunter story about IG-88, which is, I think, Therefore I Am, turns out that it's kind of loosely based on an even older short story. You probably heard the name of it. I Have No Mouth, But I Must Scream.
Nope.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
If it's not Star Wars or the Bible, I don't read it much. I'm boring.
I read a lot of sci-fi.
There you go. That's not...
Yeah.
I do read other things, but compared to Star Wars, not much.
But yeah, if you know the story, you'd see similarities. Definitely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that... So, in Legend, it was a literal... There's multiple IG-88s.
Yeah. IG-88, A through D.
Yeah. So it's literally multiples came alive, whereas in canon, it's more of a, there's one, but he's got multiple bodies he can download into.
Yes.
So that's what I say, it's less the droid and more the conscience. There's no telling how many times he's died. So I that's just me being hopeful. Again, Iggy, I don't want him to be dead yet.
Yeah.
One episode is not enough for me.
He just comes back alive after getting his consciousness transferred to another droid. He's like, what the heck, bro?
Right. Well, because I was so worried they weren't going to be dude bros in this, and they were really going to be enemies, and it was kind of misleading. But they work so well together.
They do.
And so that's what... I think I was less upset that it just happened, but it was more that, like, you did so much to make me love this duo, and like, do not take that away from me yet. I'm not ready. And so, and so that's the episode.
That's the entire episode.
I mean, that's everything that happens.
It ends on a fantastic screen where it's the Mando reaching into the bassinet to give his finger to the baby.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, he could have done it because the bounty's worth more alive. He could have done it because he was a baby with no parents. Like, there's multiple ways this can go, which I like, because we don't know our character enough yet to be able to say, oh no, he did it for the right reasons.
Which,
or,
seeing stills of the Mando with full Beskar armor,
he turns that baby in. He gets paid for that baby.
That's what I'm thinking.
Now, he may go back and correct his thing.
Yeah.
But clearly he gets paid.
Yeah.
So I think the story is going to follow a line of him dealing with that stuff. I think he's going to turn in the baby, and things are going to happen, and he's going to kind of have this moment where he's like, you know what? I kind of messed up, and I need to go back and save this kid the way I was saved. And that jumpstarts a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Because clearly, in the end, I think the things we've seen of him with his full armor take place mostly towards the end.
Yeah.
I think clearly in the end, his main enemy is going to be the Empire. And I think that's why, is because of the kid. And I'm all for it. I think it's a really interesting story. And here's the thing. We're just in episode 1. all of our theories could change. We will.
Exactly.
I mean, episode 2 is tomorrow. We'll know more tomorrow. We'll talk more about it. Everything could change at this point, but there's a lot of elements that are pretty already dug in. Like, oh, that could mean this, and this could mean that, and like there's just, and it. I just keep coming back to it's just episode 1. I'm lucky enough to work with a lot of nerds, and so I've had multiple conversations this week with, have you seen the Mando? Oh my gosh, I've seen it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, my store manager is a huge Star Wars nerd.
Yeah, and so like there's all of those conversations, and all of it comes down to this was just episode 1, and that's insane. So I feel like it has to be only up from here. Like only more can happen.
It's only gonna get more insane
and more awesome.
More awesome.
So let us know, guys. We want to hear from you what you thought. Obviously, be mindful of spoilers.
Yes.
If it's a spoiler, now here's the thing: you can say I loved such and such. You can do it without saying it. But if you're going to say it on social media or in the comments, please put spoilers first and then leave some space and then do that. Give people an option to choose spoilers or not spoilers. But we do want to hear what were some of your favorite parts. What do you think is going to happen next? Maybe by the time this comes out, you'll already know. Who knows? But nonetheless, we're going to work as best we can, as soon as we can after it comes out, to get it out. That may mean it's not super edited. This episode alone is not going to be very heavily edited.
No.
But it's going to get out. And so, but we want to hear from you guys all across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, in the comments section, hit us up, let us know. And maybe we'll feature some comments and such on the next episode.
Yes.
Other than that, all those same places where we want to hear from you, we also want you to follow us so that you can keep up to date with all of our coverage on other things, and also just so you can interact with us.
So you're not surprised by haircuts.
Right. We're not just one of those kind of social media accounts that just posts when we put out an episode, or just when something happens. Like, we're interacting on there pretty regularly and whatnot. So
if you want to see a picture of our Christmas tree,
exactly. So all those kinds of things. If you enjoy us and want to get to know us more, social media is the place to do that. And you can also see pictures of our annoying cats that don't know how to be quiet when we record.
But that's okay.
But you can help with that situation, because if you like us and you like our patience, then you can send our cats to college. Join us over on Patreon, starting at $1 a month. There's lots of goodies. You'll be able to get into our exclusive Discords and share your thoughts on our Rebels rewatch.
Here's another one.
You'll get behind-the-scenes coverage. You'll get bonus episodes, all kinds of stuff at just $1 a month, plus whatever else you can do. So if you love us, help us out, help the show, and send our cats to college. Dang, she's cute.
She really is.
Other than that, just make sure you're connected with us on things like YouTube and Twitch and all that, because Jedi Fallen Order is coming out, and we will be covering it. Vader Immortal 3 is coming out, and we will be covering it. So those are the places to look out for those things. We're just going to be very busy for a while. But we do ask, just continue to be patient with us as we get stuff out. But thank you guys so much for listening, for supporting, and all that good stuff. Thank you to our Patreons. We thank them at the end of every video with the little title card thing. We haven't been doing well enough to mention that in the episode. We are extremely thankful for our patrons who go the extra mile to support us. Thank you so much. Thanks, you just everybody that listens and comments and likes and makes all of this worth it. We would do it without all of you people, but it's certainly nicer and less insane to do it with all of you there supporting us and cheering us on and encouraging us and all that good stuff. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We will be back as soon as we can with more stuff.
Yay!
But other than that, I've been your herd leader, John Wayne.
And I've been your herd mom, Megan.
This has been cat. Nerd Herder. That's a cat. May the Force be with you.